In 2025, I decided to leave my job that I had been working at nearly 3 years. I knew the risk that I was taking, and I was willing to take it anyway, because I was so fed up with the environment and everything that was going on in my life as well. Fast forward just over a year later, I definitely can't say that I regret it, but it certainly has taught me 3 important things that I need to keep in my mind at all times. Firstly, you need to pull the trigger while you have money. What do I mean by that? I'm referring to this YouTube channel, or just your dreams, what you always wanted to pursue, what you have in your mind when you're doing that monotonous job that you can't stand. In this time period, I haven't had any income. So obviously I had more money when I started than I do now. Even now, I'm concerned about how I'm going to manage the money that I do have, but I realized that I should have taken greater responsibility in terms of pursuing what I really wanted to do in this YouTube channel and making commentary and actually putting my opinions out into the internet. Because we have a solid idea, even before we start, that it's going to take a lot of time, it's going to take a lot of effort, and obviously there's a starting entry cost. I think that I have a relatively cheap setup, but when I take a look at it, this is thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Really, the standout cost was the Blue Yeti mic that I first bought. I got that for over $100 because I didn't know anything about, actually being frugal and doing my due diligence in looking for the best possible price or waiting. So I made that purchase, and then, it wasn't worth it because not only did it sound like ass, but as I just got into using it more and more, it just quit on me. Luckily, and I didn't think so at the time, I had already bought other mics because I wanted to experiment with content creation outdoors, and I had these Rode mics sitting in the back, which also proved very finicky and not reliable. So when I'm thinking about it, if I had combined the money that I spent on these 2 separate microphones and bought a proper mid-level mic in the first place, I wouldn't have been in the position that I am in now, where I feel like I should just have something that is better. Because admittedly, we all know that the starting cost for YouTube is higher than it was 15 years ago when people were uploading with their 240p cameras. It also demonstrated to me more than ever how detailed your plan needs to be before you actually take that step, especially with something like content creation, or really if you're just trying to make anything that requires creative energy. Because even with all of the resources that we have and stories from other people, or websites or articles or lists that we can look at, it feels like we are pulling something from absolutely nothing. And in a lot of cases, even if you have the equipment, that is very still true. As I've talked about a little bit in a previous video, you're going to become obsessed with making a better and better product. And that only makes me feel like my PC isn't getting the job done, my recording equipment for capturing gameplay isn't getting the job done, and the audio, the most important part. If I could hear any mistakes, then the viewer can hear any mistakes, and that's simply not going to cut it. What makes it worse, in my opinion, is that I feel that I had a pretty good understanding about how to make goals and how to stick to those goals prior to me being unemployed. It's honestly the entire reason why I even have a second laptop that can even slightly get the job done in the first place. And forgive me for going this long into the video without saying this, but this video is by no means to encourage you to leave your job. This unemployment journey has been weird, to say it in the most competent manner, but I had saved a lot of money. I mean, I still live at home, my expenses are low, so I was positioning myself to not have many responsibilities and to ease back into the working world in my own schedule. It hasn't gone like that. It has been unpredictable, and there's been several times where I'm trying to get back into the working world and I'm just not able to, whether that be because of the current factors resolving the job market or the fact that there's a huge gap in my resume, which is like red flag number 1 to employers. What I am saying is that I definitely should have just pulled the trigger on a $200 or even $300 mic in the first place. Because even if I didn't see a quick return on that, or a return at all, it would have drastically changed all of this past year because I would have been able to make something that I was proud of. For the past maybe 6 years, YouTube has been my dominant form of entertainment. Streaming services have too much garbage and cable was dying for a long time. So by consuming all of these YouTube videos, I'm more and more convinced that I can actually do this. I can accept that there's a huge chance this might not work out. But what I can't accept is me sitting back and doing nothing, knowing that there's part of me that wants to create. And that brings me to my second point. While you're unemployed, each and every day, you're going to have to tell yourself not to do what the world is telling you to do. I don't know if this was just me existing in my bubble, but I don't believe that the job market was nearly as bad at this time last year as it is right now. So 90% of the content that I was seeing at the time was saying, you need to lock in, you need to go even harder, you need to work more hours at your job, you're not doing enough. How are you supposed to keep a girl or start a family if you're not even willing to do enough now? Obviously, I was seeing more male creators talk about this than female creators, and they're going to try to use your negative emotions about your situation. Even if it's not terrible, they're going to try and use those emotions against you. They want you to feel helpless because then that makes you rely on them for the answers. That makes the words that they say in their videos like gold to you. Especially if you manage to do the things that they're talking about and you see any hint of success, it's like they're going to have you wrapped around their little finger for the rest of your life. The idea of endless hustle culture is what got me into this position with my YouTube channel in the first place, because I figured that as long as I bought the equipment, I could just make something happen, right? Actually, no, you're going to have to make a structured plan so you know where you're going. That wasn't a foreign concept to me, but I was convinced by the internet that if I wasn't making it happen immediately, I wasn't doing anything at all. I want to say it was the start of 2026 when the massive change occurred and everyone just started saying, fuck the workplace, stop trying to improve, stop trying to, get your bag, and start embracing loser maxing, which I feel like I just lost, at least 50 of my remaining brain cells just saying that, but that became the trend. A lot of creators realize that people don't only want somebody that's relatable and like them, but they probably want somebody that's doing worse than them because it makes them, one, not only have something to laugh at, but two, feels like their life is much better than it actually is. I watched this one channel, I think it actually is called Loser Maxing, where the things he describes in his videos are just absolutely hilarious from start to finish. But maybe after the fourth video of his that I consumed, I was like, genuinely, why am I even watching this? Even if it's just on in the background and I'm just passively listening while I actually do something important, why is this even on my screen right now? In a way, he's still profiting off my misery. He's just betting on the fact that my misery is less than his, and therefore I find his content funny. And clearly for at least 4 videos, it worked. Thank God my brain, snapped back to reality, and I'm able to realize that this is just filling my mind with terrible images about dating, about interacting with friends, other social gatherings, and just feeling like I'm going to be lonely and a loser for the rest of my life. And even if I'm slightly above his standards, I might think that I'm just not having enough, because that is all of the content and all of the doom and gloom that I'm consuming constantly. It's no secret that it's easier now than ever to just stay within your 4 walls at home. You can have anything delivered to your house. You can have your food delivered. You can work out at home. You can get the movies that, used to be in theaters for like 3 months. Now it's going to be home in 1 month. Even your appearance is not something that you have to invest as much in if you decide to rot in the crib. Remember what guys were looking like when the barbers aren't available during lockdown? But hey, at least we were pocketing that bread. Right now, it feels like it's more impactful to do these things more than ever in terms of going outside or taking care of your brain or taking care of your body, because you're just going to constantly feel like it's pointless if you listen to the internet right now. Why work out if nobody's going to see me? Why read that book if ChatGPT can tell me the answer in 3 seconds? It's because this is your life that we're talking about. This is your soul that's at risk right now. There are going to be times where the internet strikes more of a balance because they realize that extreme end content isn't exactly what people are looking for right now. And we see this in things like delete social media is rotting your brain, how to stop doom scrolling. Those are good ideas that we actually need to embrace. The problem is, once the trend is over, if you were subject to the whims of the internet, then the trend is going to be over in your life too. Living like that is exhausting because one day you're just going to realize that, hold up, it was just a few months ago that I was doing the opposite thing. It was cool to do the exact opposite of what I'm doing now. Your body and mind is literally going to break from the whiplash. That brings me to my final and most important lesson. You're going to hear people say a lot that less is sometimes more, but most of the time more is more. As I've been unemployed, I've had to figure out where to pull more from in the areas of my life that already exist. The Bible says not to worry, not to be anxious, and to let your requests be made known to God. But it is extremely difficult to not be anxious when you don't have income, because instead of feeling like I'm controlling money, money is now controlling me. Even though I've progressively bought less and less each year since I started working years ago, I have these stretches where I feel like everything could be solved if I just all of a sudden had more money. That is not the more that I need to be concerned with, because the Bible also says that God is going to provide you with everything that you need. The goal here isn't to make this a religious video. Clearly, it's become a bigger part of my life since I've been unemployed. However, it's the principles that stick. Looking for more in what I already have includes things like journaling more. And I just don't mean my standard journal. I mean popping open a journal for everything that is plaguing me in my life. For example, I had a skin issue that's been plaguing me for several years. I grabbed one of the notebooks that I had laying around my house and I made it my dedicated skin documentation journal. So now every day I'm looking at these notes. Every day they're sitting at the forefront of my brain, and I'm making it a priority to take care of my skin in every instance that I can. And I've seen tremendous progress in 1 year. So I applied this methodology to other areas of my life. I got a couple of cheap notebooks from Staples, and I started tracking. Most notably, my ideas journal, where I generate the things that I want to talk about on this channel, or just the things that have been swimming in my mind that could become videos or something else much more down the line. And then, of course, my personal curriculum journal, which basically takes into account what has piqued my interest at the moment. Currently, it's firearms. So in that book, I write down notes about the weaponry that interests me and all of the questions that I have, so I can, see how my thought process is evolving over time as I learn more and more. You would be baffled, absolutely dumbfounded by the amount of things that you can find for free, or at the very least, much cheaper than you ever could have imagined. I would never, ever advocate for piracy, but it is shocking to see what is just online for free in full HD. And that might become a little appealing to you when every subscription service is costing the same as cable did 15 years ago. In terms of things that are actually free, you have so much to get at your local library. I'm talking about cheap printing. You have free computer access. You can get the latest movies and even some video games for free checkout. Not to mention, it's a nice air-conditioned place that is a separate place from your bedroom, so you don't feel like you have to rot there for the rest of your life. If you are going to dole out some cash, make sure it's for things that actually make you excited and actually bring joy to your life. I recently got back into comics, and I tried my best not to overdo it, but every now and then I will pick up a trade paperback that's just some story that I had my eye on for a while, or something that recently caught my interest. And I also dole out a little cash on taking myself out on a date. It is invaluable, especially during the summer, to go outside and live. As a guy, I realized that some of the things that I envision in my mind that I would do to impress a girl, or some of the things that I have done, are things that I need to be putting for myself, or at the very least, putting in the same effort. So to wrap it all up, the 3 lessons that I've learned while being unemployed. First, pull the trigger while you have money Get those things that interest you, get those things that are going to make your vision come true. Secondly, each and every day, you need to refuse doing what the world tells you, because the internet is going to push and pull like the water. Thirdly, sometimes less is more, but usually more is more. You just have to look in different places. I'm not going to go as far as to say that I enjoy being unemployed, but I definitely don't regret the move that I made either. However, I will say that I wish I did a better job at taking the reins of my life much sooner. If you've spent any amount of significant time unemployed, you've probably realized that there are a lot of things you wouldn't have learned unless things played out exactly how they did. And that's something that I'm still struggling to accept. If anything I said resonated with you, please drop a like and tell me not only the downs of your unemployment journey, but the valuable lessons that you learned too. I'll see y'all in the next one.